I thought I was just being honest. I thought setting boundaries would save our relationship. Instead, it destroyed the one thing I didn't realize I needed most, his desire for me. My name is Claire, I'm 35, and I've been married to Daniel for almost a decade. When we first met, I felt like the most wanted woman in the world. He couldn't keep his eyes, or his hands, off me. Every glance, every touch made me feel alive, beautiful, chosen. Back then, I craved it. I loved that kind of attention. But something changed as the years went on. Maybe it was stress, maybe it was the weight of everyday life, or maybe it was just me. What used to make me feel adored slowly began to feel suffocating. His constant desire, the way every compliment seemed to circle back to my body, the way every quiet moment between us seemed to turn into an invitation, it stopped feeling like passion. It started feeling like pressure. One night, after another exhausting day, I snapped. I don't even remember what triggered it. Maybe he brushed against me in the kitchen, or maybe he whispered something suggestive when I was just too tired to respond. But the words flew out of my mouth before I could stop them. God, Daniel, do you always have to sexualize me? Don't you see me as anything else? The silence after that sentence was louder than any argument we'd ever had. He just froze, staring at me like I'd slapped him. Then he nodded, quietly, almost too calmly, and said, "Okay. I hear you." At the time, I felt justified. I thought I had finally made my point. I imagined that now he would slow down, notice me for more than my body, start appreciating the emotional side of who I was. I wanted to feel seen, not just touched. I wanted romance without expectation. But what I didn't realize in that moment was that those words, those careless, desperate words, would echo louder and longer than I ever expected, because from that night forward, everything changed. The touches stopped. The lingering kisses before work disappeared. The playful winks, the inside jokes that used to end with him pulling me closer, all gone. And the bedroom? Silent. For 6 months. At first, I told myself it was what I wanted. That maybe the pause was healthy, that space would fix what was broken. But as the weeks turned into months, the relief turned into something darker, loneliness, rejection, and a guilt I couldn't shake. The worst part. I had asked for this. When I look back, it almost feels like I'm remembering another life, those early days with Daniel when everything between us was fire. We couldn't keep our hands off each other. Every glance turned into a smile, every smile into a kiss, every kiss into something deeper. He was always physically expressive, and I loved it. In fact, I used to brag about it to my friends. "He makes me feel like I'm the most beautiful woman in the room," I'd say, and it was true. He noticed things, like the way my hair curled at the ends when it rained, or how I bit my lip when I was nervous. And when he touched me, I felt wanted, chosen, adored. But somewhere along the way, life crept in and changed everything. Work got heavier. Bills piled up. And when motherhood came into the picture, exhaustion became my second skin. The same touches that once lit me up started to feel like demands. The same compliments that used to make me blush started to sound like expectations. I started questioning, is this all he sees in me? One afternoon, I vented to my closest friend, Melissa. She listened as I spilled every frustration, every doubt, every tiny resentment that had been building inside me. When I finally paused, she sighed and said, "Claire, you need to tell him to stop treating you like an object. If you don't, he'll never see you for who you really are." Her words stuck with me. That night, after another long day, Daniel came up behind me in the kitchen, wrapped his arms around my waist, and kissed my neck. Normally, that was his way of saying he missed me, that he loved me. But in that moment, I felt suffocated. The words slipped out like venom, "All you ever do is sexualize me. Don't you see me as anything else?" I'll never forget the look on his face. His eyes darkened with hurt, but he didn't lash back. He didn't argue, didn't defend himself. He just stood there, silent for a long beat, and finally said softly, "Okay. I hear you." And just like that, he stopped. At first, I thought I'd won. I told myself this was the turning point, that now he'd pay attention to my heart, my mind, the other parts of me I longed for him to cherish. But instead of finding balance, everything between us started to shift. It wasn't just the lack of touches. It was the way his jokes stopped landing, the way his eyes no longer lingered on me when I walked into a room, the way he seemed to shrink back little by little. The silence in the bedroom spread into our entire marriage, and I didn't even realize it until it was too late. The drought began quietly. At first, I welcomed it. No pressure, no expectation, no lingering hands when all I wanted was sleep. I told myself this was healthier, that space would help us reconnect in other ways. For the first few weeks, I even felt relief. But relief turned into restlessness. I started noticing the absence of his touch in small ways, the way his hand no longer found mine under the table, the way he rolled to his side of the bed without even brushing against me. Nights felt colder. Mornings felt emptier. 3 months in, I realized I missed it. Missed him. Not just the physical intimacy, but the closeness that came with it. I tried to initiate lightly, touching his arm when he passed me in the kitchen, brushing against him in bed, even sending him a playful text during the day. He would smile politely, even respond kindly, but nothing more. No spark. No follow-through. Finally, one night, I couldn't take it anymore. We were sitting in the living room, the TV humming in the background, and I turned to him. "Daniel, do you not want me anymore?" He looked at me calmly, almost too calmly, and said, "Of course I do. But I don't want to make you feel like I'm sexualizing you. I respect your boundary." It hit me like a punch to the chest. He wasn't ignoring me. He wasn't falling out of love. He was doing exactly what I had asked him to do. And suddenly, I hated it. I felt unattractive, undesirable, like I had been punished by my own words. The very thing I thought would bring us closer had built an invisible wall between us. And worse, he seemed at peace behind it, like he'd already accepted this new version of us, while I was left clawing at the bricks. The breaking point came at a company party. We were mingling with his coworkers when I saw him across the room, laughing with a woman from his office. She touched his arm as she told a joke, and he threw his head back, smiling that same boyish smile he used to give me. The way his eyes lit up, it was the way he used to look at me. And in that moment, jealousy burned through me like fire. Not because I thought he was cheating, but because, for the first time, I realized I wasn't the one who brought that sparkle to his eyes anymore. She had it. A stranger. And I had lost it. For the first time, I felt not just lonely, but replaced. After that night at the party, something inside me cracked. I couldn't bear the thought that another woman could see the part of him I had somehow buried. So I did what I should have done months earlier. I tried to fight for us. I bought lingerie, the kind I hadn't worn in years, and waited for him in bed one night. He walked in, smiled softly, and told me I looked beautiful. But that was it. He kissed my forehead, turned off the light, and went to sleep. I cooked his favorite meals, lit candles, poured wine, tried to recreate the romance we once had. He ate, thanked me, even helped clean up, but the evening ended with him scrolling on his phone while I sat there aching for something, anything, more. It was like chasing a ghost. Finally, in a moment of desperation, I asked the question that had been clawing at my chest for months. "Do you not love me anymore?" He looked at me with steady eyes, no hesitation, and said, "I do. But I won't risk hurting you again." That sentence cut deeper than any rejection. Because in his mind, he was protecting me. Respecting me. And yet, it felt like he was withholding the very thing that made us us. That's when the guilt took over. It spiraled through me day and night. I replayed that night in the kitchen, those sharp words I had thrown at him, and realized I had killed the passion in my own marriage with one careless complaint. But then came the darker thoughts. What if he wasn't just distant? What if he was finding what he needed somewhere else? I started checking his phone, his emails, his work bag. I scrolled through his messages at night while he slept, searching for proof that he'd found someone who wanted him in the way I used to. But there was nothing. Not a single trace of betrayal. And somehow, that hurt even more because if there was no one else, then the truth was worse. He had simply stopped seeing me that way. The man who once made me feel like the only woman in the world now treated me like a fragile thing that couldn't be touched. And I couldn't decide what was more painful, the idea of him with another woman, or the reality that he no longer desired the woman he married. It finally came to a head one night when the silence between us felt unbearable. We were lying in bed, backs turned, the distance between us heavier than a wall. I couldn't take it anymore. My voice shook when I whispered, "Daniel, please, just tell me what's happening. Why won't you touch me? Why does it feel like I've lost you?" He turned slowly, his face shadowed by the dim light, his expression unreadable. Then he said the words that shattered me, "You told me I sexualized you. I realized you never felt truly loved, only desired. So I stopped. But I don't know how to show love to you anymore, because for me, wanting you was love. And now I feel like if I touch you, I'm wrong." It was like the air had been punched out of my lungs in that moment. I realized the weight of what I had done. My careless complaint, those few angry words, had taken away the very thing that made me feel alive in this marriage. I hadn't just shut him down, I had stripped him of the one language he knew best, the way he expressed his love for me. Tears blurred my vision, my voice breaking as I whispered, "I didn't mean it like that. I just wanted balance. I didn't want you to stop wanting me." He gave me a sad smile, one that broke my heart even more. "But how was I supposed to know? You said you felt objectified. I never wanted to hurt you, Claire. So I thought the kindest thing I could do was back away." And then came the twist I never expected. He admitted that for months, he'd been trying. He had been reading books on relationships, watching videos about intimacy and emotional connection, even scheduling sessions with a therapist on his own. He was searching for answers, trying to understand how to love me without breaking me. But all of that effort had only left him more confused, more afraid. "I keep asking myself," he said quietly, "what if nothing I do will ever be enough for you? What if the way I love is the very thing that makes you unhappy?" My chest caved in as the truth sank deeper than ever before. He wasn't punishing me. He wasn't withholding to teach me a lesson. He was protecting me, from himself, from the very love that I once craved, that I had mistaken for something shallow. He thought he was doing the right thing, the noble thing, by burying his own desire. And in the process, we both lost everything that made us feel close. That night, I finally understood, I hadn't just silenced his touch. I had silenced his heart. So now, I live with the quiet truth that I created the very loneliness I feared. And I can't help but wonder, have you ever pushed someone away, only to realize too late they were exactly what you needed? In the weeks that followed that conversation, I couldn't stop replaying it in my head. His words echoed like a verdict I couldn't escape. For me, wanting you was love. I had mistaken passion for disrespect. What I once called being sexualized was, in truth, the way he showed me devotion. Every touch, every playful remark, every lingering glance, those weren't signs of a man who only saw my body. They were signs of a man who couldn't help but show his desire, because his desire was inseparable from his love. But I didn't see it that way until it was too late. I thought I wanted him to stop wanting me. I thought pulling back would make him appreciate me more deeply, see me beyond the physical. But the day he actually did stop, when he silenced his own longing to protect me, was the day I lost everything. And the irony is, I thought I was protecting myself. I thought by drawing a line, I'd save us. But instead, I pushed him so far away that he no longer knew how to love me without fear of hurting me. It's strange how words, just a handful of them, can undo years of closeness. That night in the kitchen, when I told him he sexualized me too much, I wasn't asking him to stop loving me. I was asking him to see me fully. But I didn't say it with care. I said it with frustration. I said it like a weapon. And now, that weapon has cut both of us open. I've come to realize something: boundaries are important in love, but careless words can kill intimacy faster than silence ever could. Love is fragile. It doesn't always break with screaming fights or betrayal. Sometimes, it dies quietly, in the absence of touch, in the distance between two bodies lying side by side but miles apart. If love is a flame, honesty should feed it, not suffocate it. I should have let him know I needed more balance without making him feel like his desire was wrong. I should have told him, I love that you want me. I just also need you to see me in other ways. But I didn't. And that's on me.